My name is Daniel Mindiola. I go by Dan or Danielle, or I guess my mother calls me Danny. She's the only one that would do that. My title here is Brush Family Professor of Chemistry. So I was born in Venezuela in 1974, the World Cup in Germany. That's the year that I remember for that reason. But my father was an economist. He got a master's degree at Michigan State. And my mother was an English teacher. She didn't get a master's degree. I believe she got a physical education degree and an English degree at Michigan State. And that's how they met. He was on a scholarship from the government back then. And so they met, they got married, and then they returned to Venezuela. I have two sisters and two older brothers. I'm the youngest. And we all were born in Venezuela. I was taught from an early age English from my mother's side, and Spanish, of course, because that's what we speak in Venezuela. So I kind of had the best of both cultures. My mother taught us all English from an early age. She did our own kindergarten teaching at home. They actually teach you chemistry very young in Venezuela, or at least they used to. And I liked it, but I would never have expected that that's what I was going to do. I actually liked math a lot, history. So those were really my interests. I like insects. So entomologist could have been an area that I was probably very keen in pursuing. I got to my third year in high school pretty much, which translates to a sophomore here in high school. The economy at that point had plummeted, so my mother decided to take me to the United States. We had to sell a lot of our things to make up for the money to buy the ticket. So I remember selling a lot of my possessions that I had, like my Legos. I didn't have that many Legos, but I really treasured them. And up to now, I've bought all the Lego sets that I remember as a child, and I have them at home. Kind of like to take me back to the past. So we went to Michigan. I was there for about 2.5 years in that high school. High school was difficult. It was just a difficult stage for me. I came to high school pretty much learning the English language at a third grade level. I mean, I spoke to my mother. She would talk to me in English and I would reply in Spanish. And my father would try to talk to me in English and I didn't understand them, so I'd talk to him back in Spanish, and he really did not like that. There I started to swim. I swam during high school. And that's where I met a high school teacher. I was having a hard time understanding chemistry. Everything was written in English, and sometimes I would misunderstand what they were asking for. And so this high school teacher really took me under his wing and showed me how to appreciate chemistry. I thought he was a very good teacher. So I ended up going to Michigan State, and I didn't take chemistry my first semester. The reason is that I was working full-time my first semester in a hotel restaurant. I was in pots and pans, cleaning, making money to get by. So in my second semester, I sat in a course that was taught by Professor Kim Dunbar. She gave a lecture and I really liked it. She started looking at balanced equations. She looked like she was very excited about what she was presenting. And then she got into the topic, Kim Dunbar got into the topic of her research area. She got into how she was, her group was trying to discover these rhodium and rhenium, and she would point to the periodic table, compounds that were anti-cancer drugs that could be used to treat ovarian cancer, testicular cancer. Immediately I was hooked. I said, I want to do that. And so right after that lecture, I sent her a note and she didn't answer. And she waited until I performed in the first exam before she got back to me. That's what I remember. So, and I did really well in that first exam. And she gave me a chance to start in her group. I met with her, and the group really took me in like I was another grad student. So I just developed confidence in chemistry, and that's when I realized maybe I should stick with what I like. I got to MIT, and it was very difficult. It was hard because there was a lot of good students. In inorganic, we had about 5 or 6 students that year that were admitted from hundreds of applicants. It was a very small class. And Kit immediately, I connected with Kit Cummings. He was a mentor at MIT, and he knew how to put pressure, but he was also extremely excited about chemistry, and he knew how to kind of bring the excitement in the classroom, but also in the lab. He recommended that I work for somebody who I had heard about, of course, at the University of Chicago, called Greg Hillhouse, who was a good friend of him at the time. And I applied to 3 postdoc positions. They all accepted me, but I could tell that we also connected quite well. Yeah, so I did my postdoc. From there, I moved to the University of Chicago. So from the University of Chicago, I was there for 2 years. I had my fellowships. I wrote proposals, so I had funding. Then from there, I moved to Indiana University. Spent 11 years there, went through the ranks. 2 children were born there. I married my wife shortly after moving to Indiana. She's from Venezuela. And after 11 years, Penn made me an offer I couldn't refuse. People don't realize that in the lab, almost everything doesn't work. Nothing works. And then that 1%, you have to find a way around those problems to succeed. It's not that the chemistry doesn't work, it's just the conditions can vary. You're trying to figure out problems that are not necessarily easy to do. But I think that's where I really get joy from, is seeing students or postdocs teach me about something that I was wrong about. Maybe we had our hypothesis on a project and we were completely wrong. It's not that, it's going in a different direction. I think that's really what motivates me a lot, is being able to see them move on and hopefully supersede me or do better, right? And have their own careers. And that, I think, it's really rewarding.